Good afternoon, Baldwin County. You know, I was listening to that introduction and I was trying to figure out who President Edwards was talking about, because I'm just a good old-fashioned Georgia boy. But it's truly an honor to be back here in Baldwin County in Milledgeville, especially today. Today, as the fires of injustice are burning, I can think of no better place to be than to be at one of the premier units of the Georgia State Conference, and that's the Baldwin County NAACP. As she stated, I'm the 13th president of the Georgia State Conference, and I'm the previous president. And so I bring you greetings on behalf of the executive committee of the Georgia State Conference and Madam President Gwen Westbrooks, who sends her salutations. We also are in the middle right now of our national board meeting, which is streaming live on all platforms. So I'm excited about that. But as I was driving down here and thinking about what I would say to you, as I got off I-20 in Madison, I passed over a bridge named for Walter Curtis Butler Jr. And my heart was happy because we are surrounded by a cloud of freedom fighters. We are surrounded by some of the most preeminent voices of the last century who worked in this vineyard in Georgia. You know, 4 days ago, I was with Ambassador Andrew Young, and I was with Renee Evers Everett, and I was thinking on the loss of a great friend and great mentor, the Reverend Jesse Lewis Jackson. And my heart was heavy at the loss of my dear friend, Reverend Jackson. But I remembered the last few things that he taught me. See, I'm a sixth generation Georgian, born out of this red clay. My great-great-grandfather, Henry Griggs, was a so I know all about Georgia. But to be able to sit under the wings of titans like C.T. Vivian and John Lewis and Reverend Jackson and be taught from them, they reminded us that the arc of the moral universe is long, but we bend it towards justice. And so as he's transitioned on to the ancestors, I find it apropos we talking about voting. Because voting is the method that we get to the promised land. Amen. Now, I'm a criminal defense attorney, a civil rights attorney. And so I know what voting means. It means the ability to serve on a jury. It means the ability to pick your elected officials. It means the ability to make the Constitution of these United States live. You know, there's a guy up in Washington who thinks he's above the law. He thinks he's a king. But these great counties in Georgia say otherwise, which is why he was arrested, he was indicted, and he was about to sit in front of a Georgia jury to determine what actually happened in the 2020 election because of the ability to vote. Because black people, not just in Metro Atlanta, but all over the state of Georgia decided that they were going to vote. Not just in the 2020 election, not just in the 2018 election, not just in the 21, 22, 23, 24, and now 26 election, but every election since 1964, 65. Now let me ground y'all in a little bit of history. I was born in 1978, which means I'm the first person in my family born with all of my rights. Yeah, that makes you think. But I won't be the last person in my family born with all my rights. So as we talking about voting, and when we hear these conversations in our community, oh man, voting don't change nothing. Oh man, we don't need to vote. I think of that slave in the fields in Shady Dale, looking down on his great-great-grandson, a civil rights attorney, saying, boy, if you don't tell them Negroes otherwise, because we didn't twirl in these fields in Georgia in this intense heat. during the course when we were 3/5 of a person for y'all to sit down. So the message I want to bring is the message I saw a few days ago in the Georgia state capitol, where brave people decided to stand up for the 33. I think of William McNeil Turner, one of the first elected officials here in the state of Georgia after Reconstruction, who thought it not robbery to stand up when it was dangerous. See, right now, it ain't dangerous. You know, I drive down the street, I don't see strange fruit, except for in Marietta. I don't see black people hanging from trees, but I sure do see them in the criminal justice system. And so when I think about the reasons to vote, I think about, you know, the message I want to leave with y'all is great people in the State House decided to introduce the Henry McNeil Turner Voting Rights Act. Because as you know, Georgia is one of the few places in the country that don't have a Voting Rights Act at the state level. You know, this birthplace of Dr. King, this bastion of civil rights, didn't have a real civil rights bill until we got upset about what happened to Ahmaud. So we have some work to do in Georgia, and it starts at the ballot box. Because in 2026, there's a guy, an orange guy, who still doesn't think black people will vote in this state. But we all know we the one that sent him home. Do y'all forget? It was places like Baldwin County that overproduced. Places like Clayton County, but he picking on Fulton County. That's interesting, because that ain't the county that sent him home. So what I want to impart to you is voting is just the beginning. It's how we send elected officials to the Gold Dome or up to the Capitol or to the county commission. But it's not just the only step. We got to hold them accountable to every vote. You know, the Tea Party is interesting because they like to show up and get real loud, all 5 of them. But as somebody who has organized the largest protest in Georgia history, and I don't take that lightly, they are a very loud minority. Think about it. In Georgia, we are a state of about 11 million people. And we have about 3.5 to 4 million African Americans in this state. Now, we all know black people don't fill out the census. So that means we got more than about 3.5. Every time I drive up these highways and byways, I see more undocumented black people than I've ever seen in my life. I was in Madison a few minutes ago, and I'm seeing black people everywhere. And I just feel something warm in my soul. When I go down to Valdosta, or I go to Macon, or I go to Montezuma, I see black people everywhere. But I don't see them in the places that they need to be. The jury pool, the ballot box, down at the Gold Dome. You know, I go through the Gold Dome all the time, and I see all these pictures of famous Georgians. And it seems to me they only think there's one famous black person in Georgia. That's right. Now, granted, he was very famous, and that's Dr. King, but there were people that came before and after him. That's right. That's right. Like Representative Turner, who came off of the cotton field and was able to be elected with the 33. Why am I bringing this to your remembrance? Because they sacrificed so much because they saw us. Yeah. You know, I always ask John Lewis about, when he was alive, about the Edmund Pettus Bridge and why he took those beatings. You know what he told me? He said, Gerald, because I saw you. Now, again, I was born in 1978. That beating was in the 60s. How did he see me? He saw his children and his children's children. We are voting not for us, but for them. Because the reason they want to erase African American history is so the babies don't know who they are. The reason they want to lock my brothers up, like my brother who just gave such an eloquent recitation of what the criminal justice system is like, is because slavery never stopped. Remember, the exception for the 13th Amendment is incarceration. So as I drive around this state, going from the mountains to the coast, to the cotton fields, back to Metro Atlanta, I go to every courthouse, 159 counties, about 59 different judicial circuits, and all I see is black people. Now let's be clear, we do not commit all of the crime in Georgia. We don't even commit half of it. But why are we disproportionately incarcerated? Because we don't understand our power. And the power is at the ballot box. The power is to serve on juries. And so the message I want to leave with you today as you go back into your community is to kill these lies that we don't have any power, that we shouldn't serve on juries, that we absolutely shouldn't vote. Because as Jesse so eloquently said, we got to keep hope alive. But I'm going to define what that means. Without Jesse, there would be no Barack. I'm going to say that again. Without Jesse Lewis Jackson, there would be no Barack Hussein Obama. And let's be clear of the moment in time that we are in. My good friend, Reverend William Barber, former state conference president of North Carolina, wrote a book called The Third Reconstruction. That's where we are. After Reconstruction, there was what? A backlash. It's called Jim Crow. After Civil Rights, which was the second Reconstruction, there was a backlash. It's called mass incarceration. And now after the most eloquent and arguably the greatest president these United States have ever seen, we got MAGA. But one thing I know about my people, after the first Reconstruction, after the second Reconstruction, black people saved the democracy. So let's get ready to do it again. Because our ancestors expect us to do it. We've always done it. So let's not be fooled or confused or disheartened. We've done this before. No, I'm not talking about our ancestors. I'm talking about us. We did this before. That's why the orange man is upset with Georgia. Why you think he keep coming down here? And I'm going to send him a message because I know there's a reporter in the room. If he keeps messing with Georgia, we're going to send him to jail again. Because let's be clear, the descendants of our ancestors here in Georgia have something to say. I think Outkast put it very clearly. The South has something to say. And what we have to say is, this is a process to get to liberation. So for the brothers and sisters that say, I'm not voting till I get reparations, you got to work for reparations. If you don't vote, you're not getting your 40 acres and a mule. But also, I would like for them to study history. We already got our 40 acres and a mule, and it was taken back. See, that's why my big mama would sit me at her knee and always taught me, boy, it's two things I want you to do. Get educated and then pour back into your community. Because if you study history, you remember it's cyclical. So in order for us to actually obtain the land and get what is due to our people, we have to do what's necessary. I was watching Glory the other day. You know, the 54th Massachusetts, those freed slaves that came back in those Union blues, they're the ones that secured our reparations. But the fight is not physical. I believe there was a radical black man that lived about 2,000 years ago, and he said the weapons of our warfare are not carnal in nature, but mighty through God to pull down strongholds. We wrestle not against flesh and blood, but for wickedness, spiritual wickedness in high places. I believe y'all know his name. You know, when he was walking around, he was dealing with the Pharisees and the rulers who made lies into the truth instead of truth into truth. And he really dealt with them in the spirit. So we got to deal with folks in the spirit. How we deal with them is we fight them in the only place that matters: the ballot box and the courtroom. See, the NAACP, when it was at its heyday, which I would argue it's back to its heyday now, would fight in one place and one place only: the courtroom. There was a bad lawyer that was going around the South. I think y'all know his name. I think his name is Thurgood. And he would go around in southern cities, and he would go into the courtrooms, and he would free folks accused of capital crimes, and he would make sure that the units could register folks to vote. And he always had the press with him so we could shine a light on this stuff. We need to get back to that. But wait a minute, we are. Because I come to bring you hope. I don't ever come to bring you gloom or doom. That's not me. So last Monday, the Georgia State Conference of the NAACP and Atlanta branch decided to file what is called an intervention motion to get back the thousands of ballots that were improperly taken in Fulton County. Two members of the Georgia State Conference, one of which is my good friend Dante Carter, and the other is Tanitra Barrett, were the lead plaintiffs in the motion in federal court. Let's be clear. The Supreme Court of Georgia always, and the Supreme Court of the United States, always has the last say in things. Not the guy in 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, which is why yesterday he went on a rage rant in front of the press. Why? Because the Constitution still applies in this country. And so just like they slapped him on them tariffs, they're gonna slap him on these ballots. Y'all can write that down. And so what we need is frontline soldiers. We need this unit to fill up this sanctuary, this dining area, down the street, the university over here, all the way down to I-20. We should have hundreds of thousands of members of the Georgia State Conference because we ready to file lawsuits. Y'all saw National President. It was a nice quote he had. Nice quote. It said, "We suing everybody." We suing everybody. And when we sue, we win. So the message I'm leaving with you is this. Yes, we had Brown versus the Board of Education. That was 60 years ago. Why aren't we talking about Allen versus Milligan, which was 3 years ago? The Alabama State Conference was the one that added a new minority district over in Alabama. That was the Alabama State Conference. Rose versus Raffensperger here in Georgia was the reason for that new PSC seat. The NAACP is very much awake. The monster is here. We are ready to fight. And I just need you to remind the young people that we've done this before. If they looking to be energized, if they want to fight, they need to join the only fighter that has fought for black people for 117 years. So I'm gonna leave you where I started. I crossed over Walter Butler's bridge, and I thought of President Butler. I thought of what he would say about the Georgia State Conference right now. And you know what? He would say, y'all have done good, but it's time to do more. Because the babies are watching you. And whether this third Reconstruction ends the way it's supposed to or not is incumbent upon you. I'm resting. John's resting. CT's resting. Dr. King's resting. And now Jesse is resting. But there are still hyenas on the savannah. Mufasa is no longer here. So where's Simba? Are you Simba? The president seems to like the Lion King. So let's remind him how the Lion King ends. This is our fight. 2026 is right now. We got an election in May, and we got one in November. Let's shake the foundations of this country again. I know y'all can do it. Y'all have done it before. The world is watching Georgia, which means the world is watching Baldwin County. So I'm so proud to be here, but more importantly, I'm proud of what you are about to do. Because your descendants one day will look back on what you did in 2026 and be like, man, grandmama and granddaddy were bad. They decided that they were going to shake off all that fear of an orange dude and send a message from Georgia, a message so loud that the world press will be wondering again, what is in the water in Georgia? So I love y'all. I will forever be your 13th president of the Georgia State Conference. I ain't going nowhere. I ain't no ways tired. We built for this. We've been here. And we are going to win. Because as they said in my opening, of all the things y'all might call me, y'all gonna call me a proud father. Because both my babies are going to get the same rights that I was born with and will get more rights. So you can erase Black history, you can get rid of DEI, you can do all these things to hide the slaves, but know this, we never learned at Emory what we learned at Big Mama's knee. I didn't learn in law school what it meant to be a Black Georgian. I learned that at my grandmama's house. I don't care what you take out of them books. It was in Big Mama's head. And now we got to impart that same thing in the babies. Tell them what y'all went through in Jim Crow. Tell them what it really meant to register to vote. Tell them that these poll taxes and these literacy tests look just like the SAVE Act. Oh, did I say that out loud? Last time I checked, a poll tax in Georgia was only $1. Now the SAVE Act wants to make it $32. That's how much it costs to get a new real ID. Because let's be clear, if you look at your real ID right now, it don't have the proof of your citizenship. So that means you got to get a new card. Again, y'all, history repeats itself. So let's repeat ourselves. Let's get up. Let's dust our shoes off. Let's do some marching. Let's march to the polls. Let's march to the city council meeting. Let's march to the county commission meeting. Let's march to the Gold Dome. And let's send a message. This our Georgia. It's always been our Georgia. It will always be our Georgia. And you're going to get your hands off our rights. So I'm Attorney Gerald Griggs, the 13th president of the Georgia State Conference. But more importantly, I'm your co-conspirator in justice. I thank you. We're going to go out here and register some more voters. We're going to get some more members of this unit. and we're going to send a message to Washington, and we're going to create a new chapter in the history books of Georgia. I thank you, President Edwards. As you know, anytime you need me, I'm here. I love y'all.
Thank you, sir.